Yeah, yesterday United had their monthly meeting, ran about an hour and 57 minutes, so not a real long meeting. And if you want to catch that meeting again, it will be on tomorrow here on Channel 6 at 1:30. I'd like to welcome John Beckett. He is a member of the board. He is actually the board secretary. Nice to have you on.
Thank you, Ken.
And I didn't realize, I thought we were talking a little bit beforehand that you had been on here before, but you haven't. So your first time, great to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
The board meeting, lately the board meeting's been going like clockwork, which is nice, getting it under right around that 2-hour mark. So it's certainly good for you folks who then a lot of people may not realize that you're sitting down there afterwards with a closed meeting. So it's a long day either way, but if you can make the open meeting go a little bit quicker, it's better for everyone, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right, you brought along some notes and highlights to talk about.
Yes, sir. At yesterday's meeting, we had a visit from Mike Grandy and Mike King of the El Toro Water District. They said that thanks to our smart sprinklers, we have only 1% of our water usage is in Tier 1. So we're coming in 99%, in Tier 3. We're coming in 99% in Tier 1 and Tier 2. They've asked us to reduce our outdoor irrigation. Mm-hmm. The board seems to be in agreement with that, so I just hope the residents are willing to accept the fact that the grass may have to get a little bit browner. And we may have to take out some of the plants that use a lot of water. Mm-hmm. But I think we're going to get through this.
Yeah, and it's a fact, isn't it, for everyone? Whether it's your grass or where I live, my grass, and our grounds around the area that I live, it is what it is, and we just have to kind of accept it for the time being, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The board passed a 2015 business plan, and I want you to listen to these numbers. United will be spending $34,514,000, and we're going to be sending $16,393,000 to GRF, and also we're going to be spending $8.5 million from our reserves. One important development yesterday, it's taken 4 years, but we finally have some relief for non-smokers. If you and your neighbors agree that you don't want to have smoking in your building, you can have it declared a smoke-free environment. Our lawyer took a lot of time drafting all the documents, and it's a very complex process. It involves recording with the county recorder's office. The one thing I wanted to talk about today was this report we got from Moss Adams. This concerns property services operations. And this is probably the department that most of the residents deal with on a most frequent basis. The report found that the customer service department is not operating up to its maximum efficiency. For example, the appliance ordering process is time-consuming, labor-intensive, and inefficient. The application process for guest passes, overcomplicated, time-consuming, and a source of frustration for staff and customers. The procedure for maintenance scheduling and charges can cause challenges for customers and representatives. There were some problems with the standard operating procedures not being consistent, up to date. Some procedures are missing. There were many difficulties with the computer program also. It seems we have 2 programs that are not compatible, and many things have to be done by hand. This firm, Moss Adams, that's a CPA firm, they made some recommendations. They said, for one thing, you've got to get people who are more fluent in Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean. Since I'm sure you've noticed, we have a much larger, we have a large increase in those populations here. They've also suggested that we improve our training. It seems that there's no training manual, and that the staff often express frustration with the way that they're being trained and the manuals that they have to use and the procedures and so on. Now, we have a set of standard operating procedures here, but unfortunately, they're not always up to date, they're not consistent, and so anyway, there's room for improvement, and the good news is that staff demonstrated a strong commitment and that the staff people said they all want to perform their jobs well. I believe that to be true. I think everybody who works here wants to do a good job. And according to the report, the management and staff welcomes the chance to improve efficiency. I believe that's true. And so there's many opportunities here for efficiency, and the report came to the conclusion that if we improve efficiency, we won't need to hire any additional personnel, that we can accomplish all the tasks that need to be done. And I guess this is our opportunity.
Now, do you think that it was interesting you mentioned there in that report that you need somebody who's fluent in Chinese and Korean? Of course, as we know, with Chinese for sure. I don't know if this is true with Korean. There's different dialects, so maybe you have to pick the main one that's spoken. I think it's probably Mandarin in this area, but that is something I guess will have to be looked at, and I could see how valuable that would be. There are people here that live here that may not be real fluent in English, and they want to call up and be able to speak to someone. So I guess that'll be looked at.
That'll be something that I'm hoping, because I've noticed that, well, for example, we have a neighbor who's 83 years old, and she doesn't speak English. Mm-hmm. And she's not going to learn English.
No.
So it would be of great help to her and many of our other neighbors to have someone who does understand their language.
Sure, of course. Getting a little bit back to the smoking issue, I know there's always been a couple issues with the boards, with United particularly, that you always have both sides on. And one, of course, is the smoking. The other one that's been ongoing back and forth is the hard surface flooring. And it's a balancing act, isn't it?
Oh,
and
yes.
you've got to, obviously, when it comes to smoking, when you look at 20 years ago, there's been a monumental shift in the people that do not smoke. Even in this age group, they've stopped smoking, which is very good, let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know that people who tend to stop smoking, they don't want to be around smoke at all, am I right? That's the way it is.
Well, what you're saying is true. I remember in law school, we all had ashtrays.
Yeah.
And when I quit smoking, I just became very sensitive to cigarette smoke, and I don't like to be around it. And so there is now, finally, there's going to be relief available to people who can't tolerate cigarette smoke.
But in that collection of buildings, or that particular building that may have 6, 8 units, whatever it is, does it have to be unanimous that they all agree? What if there's one person that smokes? How is that going to work? Or are you still working that part out?
Well, actually, the law says that everybody in the building has to agree.
Okay.
And they'll also have to kick in $150 a piece, because it is a very complicated process, as we've pointed out.
And will that remain, I don't mean to interrupt you, but before I forget, would that remain in force if somebody sold, a new owner comes in and they're going to say, you know what, part of the contingency here is this is a non-smoking building?
That is correct.
Okay.
This is going to be a covenant that runs with the land.
Okay.
So it binds everybody who comes in.
All right, very good. Well, great information. Anything else you'd like to add?
Let me see. I want to thank everybody who's helped me on my campaign.
Okay, very good. And I'm sure we'll see you again. All right, so nice to have you on.
Thank you, sir.
Great. We'll be back in just a moment.